Welcome and thank you for joining us on episode 3, season 3 of our ScotiaLIVE webinar series. My name is Simone Hull. I'm a marketing manager of Scotiabank Caribbean North. So it's October and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So our episode today is called Getting Over the Bump, Surviving and Thriving in the Event of a Diagnosis. We're going to be celebrating those who have gone on this challenging journey and have come out triumphant, and those who have a story to share. So today with me are Ms. Monica Phillips-Bailey, a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and Dr. Sarah Lawrence, who is an obstetrician and gynecologist with Caris Wellness Center. We look forward to talking to both ladies who will share their insights from a personal perspective. Monica will be giving her personal story, walking us through from diagnosis through to recovery. And Sarah will be talking about it from a medical perspective, all the preventative care, all the tips, and what you really should do to keep yourself breast cancer free as much as possible. So please join us on Zoom as well as on Instagram Live at Scotiabank Jam. And we invite you to send us your questions on the Zoom chat or on our Instagram Live chat box. And we'll try as best as possible to answer as many of them. So the stats are increasing. They're trending in the wrong direction, Sarah. Breast cancer is the #1 cause of death among Jamaican women. It's the #1 cause. They say 1 in every 21 women in Jamaica will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And you can maybe speak to this one a little bit more. Yeah. There's about 281,550, and that's a big number, of new invasive or aggressive breast cancer. What's that, Sarah?
So pretty much breast cancer is diagnosed or assigned as invasive if the breast cancer is moving on to go out. Understand? So if the cells of the ducts or the lobules, if the cancer grows to the inside, it is what we call carcinoma in situ, or when it moves outside to the connective tissue, it is what we call invasive. And you're correct, it's more aggressive, okay, and it tends to spread a little bit more.
Okay. All right, so good health really matters.
Absolutely.
So there are really 3 pillars we gather that will help you to promote good health and lower your risk. Okay. So moderately exercise, 30 minutes a day is 1. Then number 2, keeping a very balanced diet, including lots of fruits and veggies, is number 2. Moderately having some alcohol, so we can maybe, talk about that a little bit more. And absolutely no smoking, right, and getting your annual checkup. How important is your annual checkup?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because you actually touched on one of the key things in breast cancer prevention, and those are modifiable risk factors. Right. So there's some risk factors to having breast cancer. Some of them we cannot change, or age. Yeah. If you have a strong family history of breast cancer, things like that. There are many of them, but some of those things we can't do anything about. But you touched on some of the modifiable ones. Eating well, being well on a whole, making sure that you have moderate alcohol intake. Now they have stipulations for moderate alcohol intake in ounces, 5 ounces for the woman, 12 ounces for the man. And when they say these, when they quantify this, it's light things like beer and wine, not a cure, those things. But just everything within moderation. As you said, smoking is a no-no, and we'll speak in depth about the importance of your clinical visits with your doctors.
Okay. So we really don't want to frighten people and start off the conversation. So I'm the forever optimist, right? Great. So let's start off with the good news. What is the 5-year survival rate for breast cancer like?
Okay, so it is so wide and varied, and that's why forums like these are extremely important, Simone, and that's why we have to tip our hat off to Scotia for doing this, because early detection is key. You can see with this bar chart, it's going down, down, down. Starting with stage 0 or 1, you have a very, very high 5-year survival rate when it comes to breast cancer. 98, almost 100%. Okay. However, when it gets to stage 4, which means that the cancer is far-reaching, going to other organs, it falls as low as 22%.
Okay.
So that's why we have to really keep sticking out and improving and telling all our women that they need to keep on their breast self-exams, do their mammograms, and get checked out by the doctor.
Okay. All right, we touched on that. So breast self-examination, is that one thing that you can do for yourself monthly that's going to keep you in the know, right?
Absolutely. So now the breast, your screening on a whole is hinged on a 3-part thing that you do. One is your breast self-exam. That is a continuous evaluation that you do for yourself every single month.
Okay.
What this exam does for you is make you know intimately your norm. So if there's any deviation from that norm, you go straight to the doctor. Better the doctor tell you, oh no, that's fine, you can go back, than you stay there, something is happening and you don't know what it is, and it could be cancer. So the breast self-exam is what you do every single month. If you feel anything that's different from the month before, go to your doctor. Any thickness, any lump, any change of the skin, any scaling, any discharge, anything like that, go ahead and see some help from your doctor.
Okay. So they normally say that you're to start at 40, but is it really just 40 for you to get your annual mammogram or ultrasound? What if you have a family history? Talk to us a little bit more about
40
that.
is the average age, because as I said before, as you get older, your risk for getting breast cancer increases. The average age is somewhere between 50 to 55, so we want to start screening 10 years before that at the age of 40. However, Simone, as you said, screening is a very individualistic thing. You have to be assessed by your doctor, so your screening plan can be made for you. So say for instance, if you had a mother that had breast cancer at age 35, the same rule applies. Your screening now has happened 10 years before hers. So you start your screening at age 25. So yes, on average, it is 40, but depending on your family history, it may vary a bit.
Okay. And of course, stress is a killer, so you need to monitor your stress, right? Stress will exacerbate any condition, not just gray hairs, but in terms of resting. How much hours do you need to really generate yourself and actually just keep yourself in good condition?
Well, I mean, we've all heard the 8 hours, and honestly, we are not robots, we're not machines, but even the phone that you carry needs to be plugged in at night.
Right.
So you need to replenish, you need to give your body what it needs to be able to fight something if it's faced with a illness or some pathogen invading the body. So that's pretty much what rest does. Gives your body the best chance
to regenerate.
To fight and regenerate if something is there.
Yeah, right. So we have spoken about the annual mammogram, and when you need to start it, whether it's 30 or 40, depending on your risk. We know that this can be costly. So, it ranges in pricing. From the Jamaica Cancer Society, where it's as low as 40,000 because it's subsidized. 4,000.
Yes.
I get 4,000. I really don't want to scare anybody off. It's just 4,000 ladies. And to $7,000 to $10,000. What really is a distinguishing feature? And should you make this cost stop you from
So what may be the key distinguishing feature is the turnaround time. Some of the facilities that are privately owned may get those reports back to you a little quicker than probably some of the other facilities that are serving the public at a subsidized rate. But that being said, price should never, ever, ever be a reason why you don't get your check done. Because when you really think about it, Simone, the cost of cancer and cancer treatment and surgery and all of that far outweighs the money that you would pay to get screening done. So definitely, it's something that you should put on your calendar, something you can budget for. Because you can budget for $14,000, you can put down $1,000 till the year come again, and you go and you do your mammogram. So definitely, it should be a part of your budgeting scheme, and I know you know all about that, and you'll tell us about that. But definitely should be a part of your life.
But what is exactly a mammogram? People have heard about it, they're fearful, they hear it's painful. Exactly what is a mammogram? Explain to us.
All right, so simply speaking, a mammogram is an X-ray of the breast tissue. The uncomfortable part about it, Simone, and I'm not going to lie, is the fact that you often have to put your breast between the two plates in order for the X-rays to permeate it and for the image to be generated. But that in and of itself can get uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for people with big breasts, it's uncomfortable for people with small breasts. But what you need to do is let the persons be aware of what it is. You can actually even speak to the person who's in the mammogram and say, hey, this is getting uncomfortable, But that level of discomfort, once again, you have to weigh the pros and the cons, You have to, the information that you can glean from a mammogram can be life-saving. So you can endure a little discomfort to be able to get some information that can give you a clean bill of health and some sanity for the next year.
Okay. All right. But are there any tips that you want to walk the ladies through in terms of getting a mammogram? When you're about to go and get your mammogram, what should you wear? Is there anything you should avoid doing?
Well, because you're going to have to expose the upper body, I would say a romper or something, a dress that way make you have to take off everything may not be the best option. A skirt and a pants, something that you can just quickly take off the top. There are some tips that are out there. They said you mustn't put on any deodorant or things like that. I think that's because in the past they were aluminum based and they can leave artifacts.
Yeah.
But that's not so much
anymore,
a consideration right now. And if it happens, the persons know what they're looking for. Other things to consider: be aware of the level of discomfort, endure it, and know it's for the greater good. These are the things that women need to be aware of. Because of how the mammogram is done, you probably shouldn't do it around your period. Because as women, we experience breast tenderness and hormonal changes in our breast in that time anyway. So trying to schedule it the week after your period, etc., those are the things that you can consider when you're going to go out to do your mammograms.
Okay. All right, sound like you're really on top of everything then, Sarah. So I know you have a newborn Lovejoy yourself at Caris Women Wellness Center, and you offer obstetrics and gynecological services. Just talk to us a little bit more about exactly what you do there and how this helps now, especially during October Breast Cancer Month.
All right, so at Caris Women's Wellness, we are all about promoting wellness. I love it to say, I always puff up my chest and go, wellness when I say it, because I want women to be well and remain well.
Yes.
And if they so happen to become ill, we want to get you back over on the wellness side again. And it's a group of women who are passionate about women's health, and we just want to make sure that as women, we're busy, we're doing all sorts of things, and we kind of put ourselves on the back burner, but we want to put us back on our rightful place and make sure that we're functioning optimally for everybody else around us. So one of the things that we do and would be appropriate in this setting is our annual female wellness check, a well woman check. And this is something that every single woman should be doing. Because guess what? The part of the woman check before 40 as it pertains to breast cancer is a clinical exam. So including your monthly exams, you should be tested by a doctor every single year. A lot of people come in and they're like, why can't I get a mammogram and I'm 30? No, what is recommended for you at this stage is a clinical exam, which is a part of the well woman visit. And we also have with it appropriate referrals. So if you need a mammogram, we point you in the right direction. If you need an ultrasound, we point you in the right direction. All of these tests that we send you to do would be appropriate and specific to you, and then you bring that back to us, and we assess all of it, including the pap smear. I don't go anywhere and don't talk about pap smear too. I don't care if it's October, we're talking about pap smear as well.
It sounds like you really need to stay close to your doctor, Sarah, and get all of the assessment, because you definitely need that person to just walk you through what you're seeing and what you're understanding, just in case things don't go too smoothly, right? Because yes, it could be always clear, but just in case it doesn't go smoothly. And I do my mammogram, and I'm now sitting with my OBGYN, and they might have found a bump, right? What's next? Is this always a serious medical matter? Should I now get in or not?
No, but the fact is, anybody that hears they have a lump in their breast, automatically doom and gloom come down on them. So being a medical professional, it's my job to kind of demystify what's going on here. This may not even be a cancerous lump, right? So we were dealing with it. We're celebrating that we found it, because this lump could have gone here unchecked.
Unnoticed.
Right? So this is a celebration point. You have to turn the rhetoric around, right? And say, all right, we have this, we feel this thing, we have to find out definitively what it is. So the next step would be probably to do a mammogram, or to do an ultrasound, or to do them in conjunction to get a better idea of what you're dealing with. The definitive diagnosis cannot be made unless a piece of it is taken and we see what it is. That's a biopsy. And once we do the biopsy, you know what, Simone? A grand majority of these lumps and bumps that we feel come back as benign masses. So let us not stress out about it. Let us not fear it. Let us not. A lot of people don't want to come to the doctor because they don't want to hear bad news. But you may have fibrocystic breast. But we just need to know. So just in case you are unfortunate enough to be faced with a cancer diagnosis, we'll find out early, and you're part of that 98% that will survive.
I'm seeing here that it's only really 1 to 2% of abnormal mammograms that may need a biopsy, or 60 to 70% may not necessarily be cancer at all. So it's not the end of the road. Great. I'm really happy to hear that. But in case it is cancer, what are some of the options? What are your treatment options that you really need to look at? What are the 4 steps that you really need to take?
All right, so let's just do this in a nutshell, because I don't want to overwhelm people. But treatment options have as a part of it surgical, options. So you can either take out a lumpectomy, they can take off the breast tissue altogether. It depends on the level of spread and the stage that you're at.
Okay.
Most people may have a combination of therapies, so surgical and chemotherapy, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. Most times, if the cancer has spread very far, they may not opt to do surgical first. They may do chemotherapy to try and deal with the systemic effect of the cancer burden that you're being faced with. So treatment options include surgical, chemotherapy, which is using medication to fight it, radiotherapy, which is using radiation to fight it, and there are fancy things like immunohistochemistry and stuff like that, where you kind of boost your own immune system to fight it. Those are options that are available, you know, widely abroad and elsewhere, and sometimes here. No, I like that you guys put mentally preparing for treatment, because the mental game is really the strong part.
It's really tough part.
Because you see somebody get a diagnosis and they fight. And 10 years later, they come in on a show like this to talk about it. And you hear somebody giving a diagnosis in weeks. And that has to be a reflection of the mental game and your willpower to live. So having a support group, speaking to like-minded women who went through it and pressed through it, that can give you, you know, the energy and the motivation that you need to push through. Managing the side effects, and that's a real thing. You know, even a cosmesis of taking off your breasts, that's such a feminine thing. That's something that you kind of link your femininity with, you know. But, you know, think about getting these brand new breasts, you know, perky, nice breasts, and then, you know, the side effects from the chemotherapy and how you're going to deal with that. These are real considerations, and the financial impact. The financial impact is a real thing. If you don't plan for this eventuality, you can be caught way out. Yes, flat-footed in an event like this. So you have to plan. And I know you know all about that. So you're going to tell us all about that.
Bit more about that, and we have a solution for that as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we want to bring Miss Monica into the story, because Miss Monica really is the star of the show here. She's a two-time breast cancer survivor, 2 times. You just spoke about the challenges and that mental warrior spirit. That's Miss Monica here, that quiet warrior. I mean, she's always so calm and composed,
and in control.
but she has it together. Miss Monica, how did you learn about your breast cancer first? Tell us about that.
I usually do regular breast examination, and it so happened that I found a lump, and I went to my doctor for further investigation. I was, my throat, I went for a mammogram, and I had an ultrasound done, and my doctor advised me that I should do a biopsy. This is Dr. Sarah spoke about a biopsy, which I did. Most of the cancerous growths, they removed in the biopsy. In the biopsy. But then my doctor suggested that to be on the safe side, you would remove some of the lymph nodes in my arm, and which he did. So that's what happened.
Okay. How did you take that news, though? How did you take that news? The first time, or even I think the second time as well? How was that?
The first time I was young and full of life, and I just carry on as normal. I didn't think twice about diet or anything like that. But the second time, it was very stressful, as I said, you know, because of my husband not being well, and it was difficult. It was difficult. I was numb because I couldn't talk to him, because he was in an advanced stage of prostate cancer. So I couldn't talk to him, and my children, they all lived in the UK, so, you know, I spoke to a few of them. Some couldn't take it. One of my sons came over and spent 2 weeks with me, and we talked it through. But I got a lot of support from my church family. As I said, my pastor and overseer was a tower of strength. And a lot of them visited and gave me spiritual support. I read up a lot about breast cancer and how to survive. I changed my diet. I changed my complete lifestyle. I become less stressful about things that are not important. I start making my own juices, and that include fruits and vegetable, plenty of water, just living life to the full, you know, without being stressed out by what is going on around me. Excuse me.
So that was, so your sister-in-law you mentioned was really,
Yes.
really.
She visited me when I was in hospital, although she lived in Mandeville at the time, but she was a regular visitor.
Yeah.
As I said, I couldn't talk to my husband because he was so ill,
Yeah.
and, you know, it was very difficult.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you take? I mean, medically. So you went through chemotherapy. I think you mentioned that you had to take some pills.
Yes, I was put on tamoxifen. And for some reason, it didn't agree with me. I was referred to an oncologist, and I was prescribed. Oh, it's gone on.
Apixaban?
Sorry,
Apixaban, what was the second chemotherapy?
it's gone.
Oh.
Okay, so
Another time, yes.
Yeah,
But that
okay.
include chemo and everything all
Yeah.
combined in the tablets.
Okay.
And I took that for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So 2020, my final visit to her, and she said that I was okay.
Great.
Good to go.
And that was
Good to go.
a celebratory
Good to go.
moment, right?
It was good to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
but during that time of visiting her, I had to visit her every 6 months. I had the bone density test done. I had mammogram, you know, the other breast. She made sure that that was okay. And other things that cropped up during my visit, you know, she was able to say, well, go and see your GP and investigate further.
Okay. So that sounded like it was a really expensive affair, that it really had some serious financial, I mean.
It was
Yeah.
very expensive.
Yeah. But in terms of how did you stay positive though? That mental survival skill, how did that kick in? How did you stay positive throughout this journey?
It wasn't hard for me to stay positive, you know, because I enjoy my life, and I believe that life is for living, right? And somebody once said to me that having cancer is not a death sentence.
Yeah.
Life goes on, you know, and as long as you eat properly, exercise, yes, water is important. I'm not talking about the juices that we buy at the shop, but water is important. Flush out your system.
Yeah.
I just enjoy the natural things in life, like going for a long walk, listen to the birds, nature. I love to hear the rain falling. It is so soothing and so
Yeah.
comforting.
Okay.
You know, the simple things in life.
Q&A. Yeah. Okay. Well, Ms. Monica, that's very eye-opening, and then I'm sure that a lot of people are going to really learn from what you're saying. So
Yes,
it's
I
about
hope
that
so.
inner strength.
Yes.
And I mean, and just taking it slow and just rebalancing
Yes.
and getting all of that sorted. What if you could give any advice to somebody who's going through this now? What would you say to them?
Don't be afraid. I think a lot of us are suffering from this fear factor. Don't be afraid to go to your doctor. Talk to him on a one-to-one basis. I know a lot of people are shy. They don't want to talk to, they keep saying, well, it's a male doctor and he wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But they do.
Yeah.
Talk to them, you know. And if you're put on medication, please take the medication as prescribed. Not take one today and perhaps one the following day, or I won't take it this week because it makes me feel a certain way. If it doesn't agree with you, go back to your GP and say to your doctor, look, you know, I'm not happy with this medication. Can you prescribe something else for me?
Okay. Okay, so that's you really developing those coping skills and just understanding.
Talk to your doctor, let him be your friend.
Yeah, okay. How are you staying alert now? How are you monitoring your body in terms of staying alert of changes?
It's very difficult because as a female, I think the breast plays an important part in a woman. And when it's not there, it's like something is missing.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a breast implant, so I have the scar, which reminds me, you know, of what happened.
Yeah.
But I learned to cope with it just like everything else.
Yeah.
Like I could have lost a leg and I would have to live with it.
Yeah.
You know? So I just learned to cope with it as best I can.
Okay.
You know, it's just a day-to-day. You know, I have my good days and bad days.
Yeah.
But as I said, you know, my friends and my children are my
Support
system.
Support system. It's really, really good to have that encouragement.
Yes, yes.
And throughout the show, you might have been seeing ping pals. We've been asking persons to write in over the period leading up to the show to share their words of encouragement to those who have been impacted by this journey and the experience. And you might have been seeing some of those messages coming on the screen. We're going to take some question and answers now.
No problem.
And we're going to be inviting Sarah, inviting Miss Monica to assist us in answering them. Our first one is from Jacqueline Miller. I'm presently going through breast cancer treatment, and I've found that it is a very expensive journey. I was insured under a critical illness plan, which assisted greatly with treatment. But my concern and question is, what facilities or plans have been in place for women like myself who want to thrive financially after treatment and after remission?
Simone, is your question that?
Sounds like my question, right? So if you'd have a critical illness plan, yes, we know it's very expensive. We spoke about the biopsies, we spoke about the bone scans, we spoke about your chemotherapy and all of that. So the costs keep mounting and they keep adding up and adding up. So at Scotia Insurance, we have a Scotia Criticare plan, which really is very affordable. We try to make it as affordable as possible. So we ask that you come in to a Scotiabank branch and speak with an insurance advisor, and you can start saving towards any eventuality or if anything happens to you. So this is something that will help you to prepare so you don't have to eat as much into your savings. And of course, you can continue to prepare yourself for life after breast cancer, because you can continue to have your investment plans or your monthly savings and your budgeting and everything, because you would have prepared to possibly take care of some of these expenses that you're now faced with. So there's something you can do before, and of course that will help you to not having to eat into your savings so that you can continue on your path for financial security after breast cancer, because we're talking about thriving after breast cancer, right? So you want to continue to spend time with your family, do all the things that you want to do. The other question, how crucial is it for women to practice the 8 laws of health, which is called a New Start, especially becoming a vegan in the event of prevention and treatment? So this is nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, trust in God. Sarah, you want to start first, and then Ms. Monica, maybe you can jump in?
Yes, so I actually am not familiar with the New Start as it is outlined here, but it definitely has incorporated most of the things that I believe in and promote wholeheartedly. So in a whole facets of wellness, or wellness on a whole, has to do with wellness of the mind, wellness of the body, wellness of the soul. And if you look at the things that are outlined there, they all intertwine, you know, because I always say this, you know, you could have a well body, but if your mind is not well, you could be rendered, you know, unable to do many things, right? Or if your soul is off balance. So everything has to be working together in perfect synergy. So definitely, I see that she asked, especially becoming a vegan. There are things that you need to consider, because you are supposed to have a balanced diet. If you're going to become a vegan, you have to put in the work, because you need to get your proteins. You need to make sure that all the food groups are represented and represented well in your diet. So I'm all for it if you want to, but don't just say, okay, I'm just going to eat salad. No,
Yes.
you need to make sure that if you're taking out the proteins, that you're putting in the beans and whatever. If you're taking out the meat proteins, that the plant proteins are replacing it. So definitely.
So your beans, your legumes, all of that.
Definitely.
Okay,
So it just takes the work. You need to know what your body requires and make sure that you're fulfilling all of the requirements.
Okay. Miss Monica, you want to speak to the spiritual part of it?
Yes, I think it's important to be spiritually uplifting, you know. I think prayer is important as well.
And having that church, that spiritual group, that church
right,
group.
that church group. That is also very, very important.
Okay, so our second question is from Shanzi International on IG. How does my menstrual cycle or my history of childbearing affect my breast cancer risk? Sarah?
I love this question because we didn't get to speak specifically about many of the risk factors. And Shanzi is speaking specifically to one of the what can be non-modifiable and modifiable risk factors. So what happens is basically is that throughout your menstrual life, you're exposed to hormones so you can menstruate. Actually, menstruation happens if you don't happen to have a baby. So the hormones make you ovulate and prepare the uterus that if you were to have a baby, the pregnancy would continue.
Okay.
So this happens every single month for many, many, many years of your life. What happens is that if you don't get pregnant, you have a very long history of being exposed to these hormones, and this inadvertently increases your risk of breast cancer. Also, if you started your period very early, like 9, and then you started menopause, you achieve menopause at 55, means that you will have a more average length exposed to these hormones more than other people. So therefore, it puts you at increased risk because there's a hormonal part.
Correlation.
That has to do with breast cancers as well.
Okay. All right. So our next question comes from Marine Hall on Zoom. Is it a family history of breast cancer or any type of cancer that will make a woman predisposed to breast cancer? Okay,
so we find that there are some genetic components and depending on the syndrome or depending on what is the underlying causative factor, that cancers can move in groups. So breast and ovarian cancer, they move together. And especially when there's a genetic component, when you speak to BRCA1 and 2, which a lot of people may know of, which is the main implicating genetic factor when it comes to breast cancer. You'll have your doctor ask you have any history of breast or ovarian cancer? Because they come together. But there are other syndromes that you may not know about and don't need to know about. But when we as doctors sit down and ask, what has happened in your family? Your father had colon cancer. Did you have any pancreatic cancer? It kind of paints a picture for us as to what kind of genetic predisposition you may have.
Okay. And we're asked this from time to time. It's breast cancer month and it's mostly the focus on the ladies, so we're all in pink. But men, can males have breast cancer?
If you have breast, you can get breast cancer. So men definitely have breast tissue. They have less breast tissue than women, so that decreases their risk just because of the actual mass that's there. But men definitely can get breast cancer. Any change in contour, shape, lumps, they need to see their doctor just as urgently as a woman should. As a matter of fact, they have less breast tissue to move around with. Theirs will now invade their muscle and move and spread more quickly, so they need to get on it. Urgently.
Okay. So at Kira, who sent in her question in our ScotiaLIVE inbox, if I can't afford a mammogram, is there anything that I can do? What can I do?
All right, so this one is a loaded one because, everybody would wish healthcare was 100% free, and everybody, cost should not be a prohibiting factor to someone getting healthcare. What I would encourage her to do is to look out for some of these subsidized places. Because it's a Cancer Society. I think at University Hospital there's a mammography unit. You just have to do a little bit more work to make sure, because the way the Ministry of Health and Wellness framework is that there should be somewhere to access. As we said before, the turnaround time may be a little longer. However, not because you can't go to a private institution, it means that you shouldn't get a mammogram done. So it may mean seeking it out, waiting the period, but definitely look into those avenues that are either subsidized or free.
Yeah, and you spoke about maybe even coming up with a savings plan. So if it costs $4,000 at the Jamaica Cancer Society, save bit by bit.
$500, $200, $100, save up all your $50, and you'll be surprised to see how quickly you reach that $4,000.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Diego Prince on IG says, can hormone replacement therapy increase risk of breast cancer?
The simple answer is yes. However, when your doctors place you on hormone replacement therapy, there are considerations that are made. Your family history, the age that you are at, the risk benefit. So you'd find that many doctors at this time will not be putting you on hormone replacement therapy if you have naturally achieved menopause. However, if you have a condition where you've reached menopause at the age of 30, that has implications on your bone health, your cardiovascular system. It may benefit you to give you some of those hormones that you should have, So it's really, however, if you have a significant family history of breast cancer, mommy have it, sister have it, auntie have it, you are not a candidate for this type of therapy. So there are many considerations that can be made. And the considerations are made because, yes, it can increase your risk.
Okay. We're really, really glad to have you today.
I'm so
You're
happy to
shedding
be
light
here.
on so many things for us. And I'm sure what people watching are understanding and learning. So thank you so much for sending in those questions. And we're going to get into our second segment now. We're going to dive in a little bit more in terms of the financial cost of this journey and how you can prepare yourself. I mean, we've got one of those questions about, maintaining financial viability. So the costs can escalate very quickly, as we're seeing. Everything can be adding up, all those blood tests, the chemotherapy, your pills, your bone scans, everything. But insurance helps. So life insurance and a critical illness insurance can also help you. We are looking at possibly costs of like $30,000 for a biopsy. And I mean, these costs fluctuate, and it changes potential surgery, removing your breast, costing $1 million and up, chemotherapy, varying anywhere between $10,000 and $100,000. And we know it went on for like 5 years for you, Miss Monica, where you were on the drugs for 5 years. And I mean, the average person in terms of radiation and other treatments need like 4 to 8 cycles. And you have all those other blood tests, as we mentioned, the physiotherapy, the hormonal treatment. So it really does continues to climb. But how can you prepare yourself for this? Scotia Criticare, I mean, we're in the Scotiabank family right now. So we're going to be talking about Scotia Criticare from our friends at Scotia Insurance. And it gives you that financial support to get over the bump. Why do you need a critical illness plan? A critical illness plan provides crucial financial support in a crisis. So we were talking about the spiritual support and having your family members, but sometimes they may not be in a financial position to help you. So you do need to prepare for yourself and look at that financial support that you may need. It works in tandem with all the preventative things that we just spoke about, the early detection, everything in terms of the exercises, just preparing yourself to deal with this. You need a financial plan as well. It's that extra step that you're going to be taking to protect yourself and your family members, because a lot of single mothers can be impacted by breast cancer, and the family need to continue. The kids need to go to school. You need to still be living in a home. You need to pay rent or a mortgage. You need to be paying your car loans. Life goes on. I mean, nothing is stopping. So you need to be able to have a critical illness plan, which is going to assist you for some of these costs. The cost can, as I said, add up, and they can affect your ability to support your family. So you don't want to be caught up with that. And I mean, having that to throw you off of the focus on recovery. I mean, you have gone in, you have gotten your mammogram, you have heard possibly that you have something to take care of, and you want the peace of mind to be able to focus on recovery. So you don't want to be worrying about how am I going to fund this, how am I going to be paying for these medication, how the kids are going to be managing, how am I going to be continuing. So getting that peace of mind will also help you. We know stress, especially at this moment, is not the thing that you definitely want to have. So opening a Scotia Criticare policy, and it gives you the coverage of up to $3 million in the event of a breast cancer diagnosis. It covers 8 other conditions, but a breast cancer diagnosis is exactly what we're kind of focusing on today, and it can pay up to $3 million. And you can open this policy in tranches, so you can start at $750,000 and move up to a maximum of $3 million, and that will go a far way in helping you to cover your breast cancer costs. And the premiums can be, as I said, start from $1,000 or low of $1,000. So it's really affordability. We were just talking about a mammogram. I mean, saving bit by bit by bit. Not everybody will be able to afford like $10,000 a month and everything. So this policy is really for everybody, that everybody can really afford it. Once you get in, age is not an issue as well. Once you get in, you just discuss with your insurance advisor your conditions, your history and everything. There's just a small questionnaire. No medical at all is required. Absolutely no medical. You'll just go over all the questions that they're asking on the form, and it's pretty simple. And you'll on your way to getting a coverage. I think there's a 180-day waiting period for you to actually wait before you can actually make a claim. So the earlier you start, the better. It's really industry practice between $3 to $6 million, but having something is better than nothing. Even if you have the $750,000 at the beginning, that really helps. And some people will say, so if I pay all of this monthly and I'm not actually making a claim at the end of it, if you don't make a claim at the end of the policy, and I think you reach 75 years, and if you have not made a claim or if there's no diagnosis, absolutely no diagnosis at all, you can sign up for a feature that allows you to get premiums returned. So all your savings would be returned to you, and then of course you can do whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's to further health or to actually use it on anything else with your family members. Claiming back is pretty easy. And today we're really excited that we have Sarah here with us, and Caris Wellness is here, and so we are donating 15 Well Women visits to those in financial need. Yeah. And of course, they'll get additional full female examination. Walk us through that, Sarah. What is a full female examination at Paris?
This Well Woman check is what every single woman should be doing every single year. If it's your first time, we're going to go through a full history. Because as I said before, the history has implications on what your risk factors are, what can happen to you in the future, etc. We go through full history, full examination, and the examination is really the clincher. Yeah. The examination now, as it pertains to this sitting and this forum, we do a breast exam, and this is a clinical examination where we are looking for some of the subtle changes that you may overlook in your monthly examination. Yeah. So your monthly checks is your continuous evaluation, your yearly check with your doctor is your clinical check to fortify what you have already done. We also go through your menstrual history, all sorts of things maybe going on. Women, we're just tough. We say, boy, my periods are painful, but I just tough it out. My periods last in 2 weeks, but I just tough it out. No, we get to the bottom of things. We help you to fulfill your fertility desires. We help you in the menopausal period. We help you in adolescence. We make sure you do your pap smear. I'm going to talk about the pap smears. Just make sure that you achieve your very best self. And we cover things, so the hypertension, the diabetes, all of these things are picked up in a visit like this.
Okay. So we just had a question where somebody was talking about affordability. So we're really happy at Scotia Insurance that we're going to be sending 15 women to get this thorough exam done. And they will be able to come out knowing exactly where they're headed and actually hopefully maintain a trend.
Absolutely.
So that they can stay on the well woman path.
Absolutely. I can't wait to have
Caris? Yes. Okay, great. So thanks Scotia Insurance for making that donation courtesy of Scotia Criticare.
Awesome.
So we're up on the segment again for more questions. We know people were here to answer the questions and people have all those coming in. So the first one again is from @Nicole Penn on Zoom. How do I claim on my critical illness policy? So you'd have opened a critical illness policy with Scotia Insurance. You went, you filled out the medical questionnaire, your 180 days have passed. You possibly would have gone and done your mammogram, and then you found out that you have something which is a serious concern. So you just come into the Scotia Insurance location at a Scotia branch with your medical report, and we'll walk you through the process of the actual claim, and it takes a very short time. Within 2 weeks or less, you would have been fully paid out of your claim. So that's it. Pretty easy. Just sign up the forms, walk in, get your medical report. If you have a professional report about your diagnosis, a claim back is a simple procedure. It's nothing, no bells and whistles to go through. Pretty easy.
You want me to ask the question since it's to you again?
At Making Life Big on IG, what can I use the funds in my critical illness policy to do? I think I alluded to that earlier. So, of course, we're really hoping that in case you would have made a claim, you would have had a serious need for medical care, and you want to focus on recovery, as we said. You wanted to put your everything into focusing on getting better, changing your diet, getting your medication, sticking to your medication. But of course, if you choose not to, and you decide to do anything else with the money, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, and that's a reality, Simone. Some people opt not to go through chemo again. Some people opt not to go through the rigors of that treatment plan, and that's their decision. And I'm so happy that you guys offer for them to just do what they want with this investment they've made.
Okay, so Sarah, I think this one is up your street. At Francisca Girl on IG is asking, can taking oral contraceptives increase my risk of breast cancer?
All right, so this is along the same trend of the hormones. So even getting contraception should be a fulsome discussion with your obstetrician and gynecologist, because you may just say, I want this thing, let me go buy X, the over-the-counter cheap one, but the pharmacist or whoever is selling you this would not have known that you have a mother and a sister who has breast cancer. And you should not be taking a pill that has estrogen in there, but rather a progesterone-only pill. So, yes, you can't go into this thing without full knowledge and full guidance from your obstetrician and gynecologist.
I didn't even know that.
Yep, definitely.
Yes, you need to get the medical advice. At ReadGirl28 on Instagram, is there a particular age group that is more likely to get breast cancer, or an age range that gives you a higher risk?
Okay, so when we speak to that, we speak to an average. And when it's, I don't want to say an average, so persons in their 20s and their 30s let down their guard.
Right.
So when we speak to an average, we mean across the board, yes. When you're over 50, over 55, the chances of you getting breast cancer become higher.
Okay.
You're exposed to the hormones longer. A lot of things, all the risk factors now increase. However, that doesn't negate the fact that you can get breast cancer at any age.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we're seeing 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. Every single person, from you have breast and you're menstruating, you need to be checking your breast every single month.
Male and female?
Male and female.
Okay. And I remember we spoke about the female, the history. So if you're in a family history?
More so if you have a family history.
Okay. So someone who wants to remain nameless asked, I'm 44 without children. Does this increase my risk of breast cancer?
Still along the hormonal line. It is a documented risk factor that not having children is increase your risk because of this prolonged period of hormonal exposure. So is it a significant risk that yes, you may have cancer because you never had a child? No, but it's a consideration when it comes to screening. You're 44, you need to be doing your mammograms every single year.
Okay, all right, great. So Tigo Tot on ScotiaLIVE, from our ScotiaLIVE inbox, is asking, how can I donate to the cause of breast cancer? Sarah, I'll ask you and then maybe I'll jump in.
Yes, I mean, this is so varied. There are support groups. It depends on how you want to do it. People sometimes drive up to the Cancer Society and say, come away, pay for 5 mammograms. Anything, anyway, and nothing is too small to help in this fight. It's too prevalent for us to put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
If you have the means and the resources, just think about it. Anything that comes to your head, we will take it. Trust me, we will take it. Because we don't want it to be that because you're in a poor financial situation that you don't seek out the help. That can be life-saving.
We've worked with the Cancer Society before, and we know that it's not just even monies alone. They take groceries, they take
everything,
all sorts of stuff, because people who are, as I mentioned before, are affected by this this disease are putting their financially strained, so they may be helping families with
a uniform,
groceries.
Gets a book list from a family. Trust
Exactly.
me,
Whatever
if
you
we were
can
to
do,
start a list, we'd never end.
And possibly with church groups. I mean, you never know who you're providing that mental support. You can donate through, but the primary source now is the Reach to Recovery, as well as Jamaica Cancer Society that you can donate. And Susie Scott on Zoom is asking, can women in their 20s and 30s have breast cancer?
Now, let me see if I'm doing some work. Can women in 20s and 30s get breast cancer? Absolutely,
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Menstrual
I just say
cycle.
from you have breasts, you can
Yes.
get breast cancer.
Yeah, and the family history is going to be what
Yes,
is the
yes.
prevalence,
But you
right?
know what, Simone? I've had even friends with no family history of breast cancer get it in their early 30s.
Wow.
So it's a risk factor. So if you have it, you should be aggressive, but everybody should be aggressive.
Okay.
Because we just don't want, because you think you're young, because nobody in my family has it, you let down your guard. Don't let down your guard when it comes to breast cancer.
Okay. All right, and our final question before we close off our show, and we hope you've really been learning something from this session. Kelly Price on Zoom is asking, my friend was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. How can I help? Miss Monica?
Yeah.
You want to pitch in here?
Yes, she needs her family support. Her doctor, see your doctor as a best friend. Don't be afraid to talk openly.
Yeah.
Yes, discuss all the ins and outs of this cancer with your doctor.
Yeah.
Family, again, as I said, is very, very important.
So just being there, as you mentioned, your family members
Talk to
visited
someone,
you.
talk to someone, whether it's be a friend, as I said, your doctor, your church family.
Okay.
Yes, be open about it, get it out of your system, talk it through.
Okay.
And again, as I said, your doctor should be your best friend.
Okay. All right. So we are wrapping up now. These have been some really, really great questions, and I've learned so much just from listening to both of you here. I mean, I know the support and about the preventative tips. And we hope this evening was well worth it as well for those watching on Instagram or joining us on Zoom. And we were really happy to see the ping pong messages coming up as well throughout the show. And we want to encourage people, as that last question says, support. Just talk, visit, donate, whatever it is that you can to remain active. Yeah, breast cancer is really a tough experience. It's really a really tough journey. And we want to just salute everyone who has been going through this journey and is celebrating those who are going through the journey right now. Just stay steadfast, just keep focused. And I mean, understand that this is something that is not a death sentence and that you can come out at the other end of the tunnel. Sarah, any final 3 comments? What are the top 3 things you want to leave with our audience?
3 things. Every single woman, you need to be doing your breast self-exam every single month. Pick a date the week after your period. I know all of you log in your periods in these apps. Week after your period, do your breast self-exam. Know your norm. Every single woman, schedule your annual well woman visit. Do it around your birthday. A part of getting dolled up and planning party and all of that, invest in yourself and your health. Do your well woman checks. And when the doctor tells you to do something, beg you to do it. Do your mammograms, do your ultrasound, do the lab test, your well woman executive profile, all of these things, just to make sure you're very best self so you can execute at the top tier.
Yeah, take a friend to do your mammogram.
Take a friend. I mean,
Go
we
with a
spoke
friend.
about this, Simone.
Yes.
You go with your friend. Get a mammogram buddy, a well woman visit buddy. That way, if we spread the love, spread this positive health-seeking behavior, you'll see the trends going in a different direction.
Yeah. And then the final words of wisdom, Miss Monica?
Be positive.
Be positive.
Yes, be positive. And as I said, life is a journey. Right? Enjoy life to the fullest, whether you have breast cancer or not, just enjoy life. Be able to talk. I think be able to talk is so important. Don't let these things build up in your system. What if?
Yeah.
You know, so many people say, what if I didn't do this or I didn't do that? Would I have got breast? Talk it through. Share as much as possible. If necessary, start a support group, right? You can, by talking to people, you'll be surprised how many people will open up to you and said, did you know so-and-so and so-and-so?
Yeah.
Well, let's get together either on a weekly or a monthly basis. And then we can, as it expands, we can also invite others to join, doctors to come and give us talks, you know, physios, you know, where can you go and get support bras? Because a lot of people don't know this. What do I wear? How do I talk to my husband about this? Because this is another thing that women are scared of. You know, as I said, some people, the breast is removed. As I said again, you know, the breast is such an important part in a woman's life. And if it's not there, some people are scared of looking at a woman without a breast. And some women even go to the extreme as removing both breasts, whether it's cancerous or not. You know, but
just be alert.
Yes,
and
be aware.
Support,
And as I said, the support group, if you can do it among yourselves.
Join in.
Okay, you know,
great. And then remember being
along.
Not to coach. And then remember being positive that 98% of women recover from breast cancer once it's diagnosed between stages 0 and 1. So early detection is key. Get your mammograms, get your annual examinations, and of course, as Monica mentioned, support a woman who is going through this journey, or find a support group. And of course, from Scotia Insurance, get a critical illness policy. Open a Scotia Criticare that will help you to finance the recovery journey or get over and thrive after discovering a bump. And visit any Scotiabank branch or call 472-6842 or email us at sjlic.service.scotiabank.com. And if you missed any part of this episode, we want to thank you for joining, and you can watch it again on Scotia YouTube page. Or special thanks to Dr. Sarah Lawrence for joining us, and thank you, Miss Monica.
You're welcome.
And thank you too for viewing, and thanks, and see you again next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Download the new Scotia app with a faster low-time bank wherever, whenever. Be in control and transfer funds or pay bills quicker with just a few taps and a swipe. Plus, we're serious about security. Want real-time notifications for all your transactions? Check. Log in with fingerprint? Check. Turn your credit card on and off? Triple check. Protected. Your money is safe and secure. Bank wherever, whenever you choose with the new Scotia app.
Wow, stop. What?
Oliver,
is who that hollering out my name?
who are you following because Scotiabank?
Quick, go which bank? Whole foot like we fit on our yard and bank online.
And that's safe?
It's the safest thing. Just download the Scotia app or go to Scotia online for everything like transfer or check your balance and everything online free.
Free?
Bank with Scotia online. Let me show you. But I'm not going with my phone.